Hey, my name is Scott Whitwright, the Director of Product Marketing at Comcast Business, and today we'd like to share a little bit of perspective about what's happening in our industry as cable kind of emerges into the new innovative technologies and the whole software-defined world. We're at a moment right now where we think it's a very interesting point in time where there's it's generational perspective. There's different points in time that we all remember when we can remember certain changes that happen in the industry, that when we're in the industry and we start seeing things from a generational perspective, changes that happen. Two of those moments right now are the gigabit broadband and then a software-defined networking perspective. And so when you have these two big kind of forces coming together, we really got that moment in time where people can kind of take a step back and say, wow, I really remember what was happening at that, in that perspective. And what this is going to do for us is it really eliminates tremendous bandwidth barriers that we've all been kind of fighting with. And also, from the software-defined perspective, it's a radical price compression that's happening in our industry. And beyond that, it's radically simplifying a lot of the activities that our network administrators have been going through for many of years. So if we take a step back and take a look at what's been happening in perspective in our industry, about 1996 in the Telecommunications Act in 1996, it was illegal for us to compete against the telco providers. So from that perspective, the cable at that time, if you remember, there was about 50, 60 different channels on your TV. You had a small little signal. If you click a button itself right there, it'd send a small little signal back to the head end. It says, basically, if I wanted to click a channel, watch whatever I was watching back in the 1996, it's probably about Wayne's World or something. That signal would travel back down and go back down into your TV set. Since 1996, that entire the entire cable industry has pulled together about $1 billion of investment into this network asset that's been in the ground. So what I like to think of is all the excitement that's happening in the cloud and all the different things that are happening at the layer 7. We've got a very unique perspective about what's actually happening in the dirt, or what's actually happening at layer 1. And so if you think about what this looks like, the picture on the right there shows kind of the fiber capabilities all the way out to the last mile in the Chicago kind of metro region out there. So it shows you have the gigabit bandwidth all the way back down to individual places out there in kind of the regional metro area. But if you take it a step further and you look at all the different cable coax that hangs off of the ends of those fiber networks, it actually goes out beyond the strip malls, beyond the schools, beyond the government facilities and the firehouses and the doctor's offices and so forth, into a very fiber deep and fiber rich asset that we have. And it fundamentally changes how we need to think about building our software-defined networks and our whole entire network approach going forward. So as of that investment inside of, since that time, Comcast has become the single largest ISP in the nation. We've got a very strong fiber-deep, fiber-rich environment that's accessible to everybody. We're a very strong player in the Metro E space, as well as along the cell backhaul. Louder, okay. And so you can kind of think about how this infrastructure and this asset has evolved. So as the cable industry has started investing and making these transitions over time, it's quietly has the last mile itself right there, and you can kind of see specifically how people are starting to think differently. Traditionally, they would have smaller bandwidth constraints, and as they start switching over to different transports, they have the ability to kind of do the different things. So you can kind of see a little bit how the fiber and the coax come together to provide that gigabit speed down at the last mile. The cable industry has adopted the specification, the DOCSIS 3.1 specification. This allows us to give the gigabit speed down to that last mile. And as the more and more customers start thinking about what exactly can I do with this immense bandwidth capabilities, then it really, again, you start seeing the price compression, you see the different applications coming online, and so forth. So So back in the early days, again, it was very expensive to do the 1 megabits per second. And as you start seeing time and the compression of price and the ubiquitous technology that's being spread out there, you can actually see it for about $500. We can drop in a gigabit of bandwidth, not just in the high-rise buildings, not just in the local strip malls, but all the way out to the ends of the network into the residential homes and basically anywhere inside of our footprint. And this is impacting all the providers in the cable industry, not just in the US market, but also in other markets as well. And so as Comcast has right now about 45% of the footprint in the US market, and then all the other cable providers are providing a lot of the similar technology and starting to roll out the DOCSIS kind of capabilities as well there. So we think about what a lot of the customers, a lot of prospects are still dealing with today, is they've got a T1 line coming into their business or into their branch office itself right there, and you can kind of see what they're trying to do, push these applications. So all the SaaS applications, all the different lines of businesses, applications that are building into the cloud, they're typically just trying to push it through and squeeze out every bit of throughput on their existing infrastructure. So while all the investments and a lot of the applications and a lot of the mindset is thinking more at the layer 7 and making the experience beautiful for their end user customers, a lot of that is traversing the last mile, and if the infrastructure is still in the outdated kind of legacy infrastructure, you can kind of see how things slowly kind of get through on the throughput. So we know how customers think when they start upgrading their bandwidth, right? They say, maybe I just need to add another T1 line to this and bond these two items together, and so we kind of see what this does. I go, wow, I got 3 megabits per second. Now we're going to add 4.5 megabits per second. And oh my gosh, let's get up to 6 megabits per second. So again, this is a lot of the mindset when you switch the focus to line of business, and a lot of the different lines of businesses are getting their budgets kind of increased so they can go focus on the customer experience and that user experience at that kind of application layer. The network administrator is still trying to keep up with a lot of the applications that they may or may not even know are traversing their network. So when you contrast that to what we're talking about at gig life, we actually thought we'd try to put this into perspective and show this at the scale. So if I take the 6 megabits per second and drop that into a gigabit kind of pipe, you can kind of get the sense of what type of bandwidth we're actually delivering at that cost price point of about $500 a pop. So now I don't have to worry about trying to do all the mental gymnastics of trying to tag my packets, manage all the applications in a very complex fashion, do a lot of WAN optimizations across the board. When I have the ability to kind of assign 100 megabits per application or per workload on demand and still have the flexibility to kind of breathe inside the environment. So this is the context that we provide at a price point that makes it very affordable for a lot of people to kind of start consuming these things. Now, as I start switching over to from a connectivity perspective, more to an SDN virtualization kind of environment here, we recently launched our ActiveCore, our SDN platform, and kind of think of it as a way of the 4 kind of key areas. One, it's carrier grade. So we've been a hosted cloud provider for many years. We've got a lot of different applications hosted in the cloud. We start there at that point to provide a very robust, kind of deep hosted experience. Full VNF orchestration from the get-go. So the ability for our customers to mix and match the different VNFs that they would like to choose based on their preference, their price point, analysis, and so forth. And then be able to make it gigabit ready at the get-go. So the day that we come in, plug in the box, immediately have access to a gigabit worth of bandwidth. And then finally, the last major component is kind of a groundbreaking kind of a digital experience. We find that if you're building for the future kind of activities, and you start seeing a lot of the skill sets that are out there, we can't go into the future with the same challenges and trying to solve the same challenges and complexities with the same kind of mindset. We have to make this extremely simple, and we believe that digital experience is that avenue for us, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Our first product, by no surprise, was SD-WAN. The SD-WAN is the first product on our ActiveCore network. What may be a surprise is that we brought it in over the top. And so as a cable provider working on layer 1, layer 2 kind of activities, by having us go out and look at the marketplace and see what was happening, we wanted to provide a kind of groundbreaking experience to be able to take advantage of all the ubiquitous bandwidth that's out there in the marketplace, whether it comes from us or whether it comes from other providers. So having that kind of nice layer 3 kind of activity as an over-the-top option was a great starting point for us from a version 1 product. It includes firewire, router, kind of table stakes, it provides simplified policy and kind of management. And last, it was designed for a hybrid kind of WAN environment. Now, MPLS and the existing technologies to be able to connect these sites together and so forth has been around for a number of years. Those technologies were designed to solve for the deficiencies of the layer 1 network. So when we started thinking about how exciting the software-defined network world was going to be, we had early thoughts that, hey, people were going to be switching their MPLS environments and switching over to the new greatest technologies. In reality, MPLS serves a great purpose, and there's a lot of applications that may or may not necessarily want to work on migrating over. So the idea of being able to have both capabilities in a kind of a hybrid WAN kind of environment is kind of the direction of most of our customers. Now, we've actually seen a couple of our customers do hot swaps from MPLS lines over to the new SD-WAN technology as well. Not highly recommended at that point in time, but again, people are thinking in these terms of how they can actually start taking advantage of the ubiquitous bandwidth that's out there. So if I break down that kind of even further, how we start simplifying different things, I mentioned earlier a little bit about the kind of the tyranny of boxes that people were held on to constraints, where every box had a device, every box had a function, a very specific function, and if it broke down, we'd probably have somebody blame the service patch, the security patch that might be on it, or it might blame the networking components, or the wires are mismatched or configured. Somebody would come in and have to kind of reconfigure it and all the different things. All this goes away when we start moving over to the virtualized world, and we have a universal CPE that's capable of handling a lot of the different virtualized functions. So we streamline that capability in a form factor that's a very small form factor and a footprint. From the realities of kind of the processor, if you start looking at how people have been investigating and kind of doing proof of concepts with their virtualized environments, a lot of people are trying to kind of do bare bones at different times. And if you think about a Lego block kind of analogy, they would take a look at it and say, I'd like to use this kind of VNF, I'd like to use a security VNF over here, I might do an SD-WAN on this one, and pretty soon they start off with kind of a limited small box, maybe 2 cores, very limited performance, very limited kind of throughput. Move it up to 4 cores, you have a little bit of flexibility to kind of distribute things out. What we're noticing as a service provider perspective is that each of the individual VNF providers are optimizing for their own individual VNF. They're not necessarily taking into account what the customer may have on all the different variations of all the different third-party VNFs. So as a service provider, we're seeing this in real time as we start kind of building out these environments for customers. So out of a 4-core box, you get kind of the improved throughput, limited performance on kind of single VNFs. And again, from the mentality of the mindset of the customer, they're trying to optimize that kind of value, that performance to value kind of ratio, and they're doing incremental kind of upgrades. When you start jumping up to more of the 8 cores, again, we start having the ability to kind of distribute things out across multiple cores. We've got an optimized kind of viewpoint of the world from a Comcast perspective. We actually have the ability to kind of get a very for the price-sensitive customers that are out there, really optimize the performance value equation for customers. And this ability for our customers to mix and match the different VNFs is a great opportunity for all of us. And obviously we want to jump up to 16 cores. Realistically, nobody jumps up into 16 cores at a branch office. We start seeing a lot of our customers that have small regional branch offices trying to do this in an incremental fashion. And so when we start looking at this right now at the moment, it's very cost prohibitive for a lot of people, again, especially for the branch and kind of small business kind of customers. And we start thinking about this in terms of kind of where it's going and what our perspective is and what we're seeing in our different customers. Many customers have started out here with their small proof of concepts. Let's just take a box and let's just try software-defined networking, see what we can do, what we can learn, and kind of get started there. They start dealing with the bandwidth issues and some of the throughput, so they might move up to 10 or 50 megabytes per second. They start incrementally kind of increasing bandwidth when they start seeing things slow down. Then it becomes maybe a little bit more bandwidth because we don't totally understand the different VNFs and what they're capable of doing and what type of traffic they're pushing across my network. And then pretty soon, all of a sudden, we'll get the big jump. So from a Comcast perspective, one of our entry points is right around the 300 megabit kind of per second kind of bandwidth, and then also about a 4 processor kind of box. When we jump up to our next kind of tier, we're providing gigabit bandwidth with an 8 processor, and you can kind of see the difference of what customers are kind of starting with, all within a very cost-conscious kind of model, because again, the cable industry has made those investments over the last number of years to be able to give that best experience at the last mile. So our flagship entry product is about 1 gigabit, 8-core universal CPE. Gives us a lot of flexibility to kind of update things on the fly. You're starting to see a lot of this on the X1 platform. If you're a residential customer, we moved a lot of those environments that have been all virtualized, all containerized, and we're pushing updates to that X1 platform on a fairly regular basis, taking the same kind of model and same kind of approach to deploying a lot of the different technology in the business environment as well. As you start moving up into more of the data center and the connectivity options that we have for data center connectivity and being able to move your environments closer to the kind of the hyperscale cloud providers, again, we've got great entry-level packages from that standpoint. The idea of being able to find that kind of right kind of moment in time for the customers to figure out what their value proposition is, their right, very specific price performance kind of equation is. And then as we start, eventually you can kind of start seeing where it is going, but right now what we're seeing in the industry is everybody's focused at this kind of smaller level, and everybody's trying to compete on feature functionality, not recognizing the type of traffic and throughput that's going to be going on the things. And if you ask any network administrator the task of actually doing their upgrades and doing their migrations to the newer hardware, the newer technology, it's extremely obtrusive. So switching over to more of the digital experience, we've had a lot of key learnings from the residential side of the business where we've taken the consumerized approach to building and really radically simplifying what the user experience is for network administrators. We've had a lot of different customers and a lot of different environments that kind of manage the network world. They have all the bells and whistles and all the knobs and switches and all the dials and all that kind of fun stuff. What we're finding is that as we take this SDN concept and active core into the mass market, we're finding that there's not as many network administrators out there as we'd like to think. And so by having a consumer-based kind of approach to radically simplifying the user experience, I could now hire some entry-level kind of IT administrators to start easily managing a lot of their branch offices and scaling out my environments that way. So an example, we've simplified the network administrations. They're very visual. We've really dialed back all the functionality and all the different levels to just those items that kind of show you how the performance is going, how the network latency, the jitter, and the packet loss, and really exposing out or identifying what devices are impacting the network and the performance, so network administrators can really zero in on those trouble spots. We've also found there's about 2 types of people in the world that manage networks. There's the people that wake up in the morning and make their coffee and then go check the network status. And there's the other types of people that will wake up and check the network status and then get the coffee. And so we've made it available and easily accessible in a mobile form factor. So we've got iOS, a native iOS application and a native Android application as well. So you can easily check your application from anywhere in the environment. So I started with this generational moment, and we think that at this moment in time, it really is. It gives us the flexibility to kind of say this is a moment in time in which we're building for the gigabit era, and you can kind of see customers moving off of the slower kind of low latency kind of network connections into this hyper scale, always on application, always on environments that are demanding a lot more bandwidth and a lot of applications that are consuming lots and lots of bandwidth. So from that standpoint, again, it's the gigabit broadband availability and the software-defined networking kind of world. We really believe that this is our competitive advantage in this space to allow our customers to give them a very reasonable, very feature-rich, and very robust platform to be able to grow their environments and scale out their businesses as they see fit. And with that, that is the end. Thank you.